Some celebrities defy time, while others, they look like they've lived 1,000 lives. From once golden icons to unrecognizable figures, these 30 stars didn't just age, they transformed in ways no one saw coming. Take Clara Bow, the original It girl. In the Roaring '20s, she was the face of silent film, a flapper-era icon whose energy and charisma made her an audience favorite. But when talkies arrived, so did a new level of scrutiny. She had a Brooklyn accent that didn't match the era's leading lady expectations, and gossip columns were ruthless. Mental health struggles and a series of scandals pushed her further from the spotlight. By the 1940s, she was done with Hollywood, retreating into a life of isolation. But the damage was done. By the time she was in her 50s, she looked years older, the weight of past fame written all over her face. Mickey Rooney had the opposite problem. He never really left the industry, but Hollywood certainly left him behind. A child star who ruled the box office in the 30s and 40s, Rooney aged in a way the studios couldn't package. By adulthood, his boyish looks didn't translate into leading man roles, and his personal life was even messier. 6 marriages, financial ruin, and a reputation for being difficult. The stress aged him prematurely. By the time he was in his later years, he looked nothing like the fresh-faced actor who once stole scenes alongside Judy Garland. And then there was Marlon Brando. In the 50s, he was the gold standard. A streetcar named Desire, On the Waterfront, The Wild One. He was Hollywood's most intense, rugged leading man. But Brando never cared for maintaining a Hollywood image. By the 70s, his weight gain was noticeable. By the 90s, it was staggering. He reportedly weighed over 300 pounds, barely leaving his home in his final years. In the 1960s, Judy Garland is the textbook case of Hollywood's cruelty. She was a child star when MGM turned her into a product, feeding her pills to wake her up, keep her thin, and put her to sleep. By her 40s, the damage was irreversible. The luminous teenager who sang Over the Rainbow had aged beyond her years. Exhaustion, addiction, and years of stress had taken a visible toll. Her once youthful glow was replaced by a frail, weary appearance. By the time she was found dead in a London apartment at 47, her body had already given up long before. But Garland wasn't the only star whose once radiant presence dimmed under the weight of addiction and exhaustion. Richard Burton, known for his booming voice and intense screen presence, was one of the most charismatic actors of his generation. But off-screen, he was just as famous for his hard-drinking lifestyle. By the time he entered his 50s, years of alcohol abuse had left him visibly aged. The dashing star of Cleopatra and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf no longer had the sharp features and commanding presence that once made him irresistible. Friends described his later years as a struggle, with Burton himself admitting, "I have to drink to live and I have to drink to stop living." His once powerful frame grew gaunt, his face deeply lined, proof that decades of excess had finally caught up. Then there's Brigitte Bardot, a sex symbol who ruled the 60s with effortless beauty and undeniable charisma. But unlike many of her contemporaries, she chose to reject Hollywood's obsession with youth. By the time she stepped away from the spotlight, she had no interest in maintaining the illusion of eternal beauty. Wrinkles and aging didn't scare her. She embraced them. Instead of fighting time with surgery, she turned to activism, dedicating her later years to animal rights. Her transformation from screen goddess to recluse was shocking to some, but to her, it was liberation. In the 60s, these stars were at the top. By the time the next decade rolled in, their reflections told a different story. Linda Blair became a household name after The Exorcist, 1973. The film made her a horror icon, but Hollywood didn't know what to do with her afterward. She took roles in B-movies, struggled with personal issues, and ran into legal trouble, including a high-profile drug arrest in 1977. By the time she tried to revive her career in the 80s, the industry had moved on. Years of stress, fluctuating weight, and personal struggles took a toll. By middle age, she barely resembled the fresh-faced teen who once terrified audiences. Fame can be a double-edged sword, and for some, its sharpest cuts come long after the spotlight fades. Jan Michael Vincent had the looks and talent of a leading man. Hollywood saw him as the next Paul Newman, and with films like Big Wednesday, 1978, and the TV series Airwolf, 1984 to 1986, He had everything going for him, but he was his own worst enemy. Decades of alcohol abuse destroyed his career and his health. He was involved in multiple drunk driving accidents, with one in 1996 leaving him with severe nerve damage to his face. By his later years, he had lost a leg due to complications from an infection. The once dashing leading man was unrecognizable by the time he passed away in 2019. And then there was David Cassidy, teen idol, musician, and the face of the Partridge Family. 1970 to 1974, he spent the 70s dodging screaming fans and living the rock star dream. But by his 30s, the industry had moved on, and his career never fully recovered. Decades of heavy drinking took a toll on his appearance, making him look much older than his years. In 2017, he publicly admitted he was battling dementia. Though the damage of alcoholism had already left its mark, his tragic final years were a stark contrast to his youthful, boyish image from the 70s. The 80s was a decade of indulgence. Big hair, big egos, and even bigger consequences. Some stars made it out intact, but others, not so much. Gary Busey was once the ultimate tough guy actor, earning an Oscar nomination for the Buddy Holly story in 1978. But a decade later, everything changed. In 1988, he crashed his motorcycle at high speed without a helmet. He survived, but the damage was permanent. The traumatic brain injury altered not just his personality, but also his physical appearance. His face became more rigid, his expressions less controlled, and over the years, his once rugged good looks took a drastic turn. The accident, paired with years of erratic behavior and alleged substance use, left him looking far older than his actual age. Not all transformations come from reckless decisions. Some happen without warning. Kathleen Turner ruled the 80s. That husky voice, commanding presence, and knockout looks made her a go-to leading lady in Body Heat, Romancing the Stone, and The War of the Roses. But behind the scenes, something was changing. In the 90s, Turner was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a chronic autoimmune disease that attacks the joints, causing severe pain and swelling. The treatments were brutal. The medication, combined with the physical toll of the disease, altered her appearance in ways she couldn't control. By the early 2000s, fans were stunned. Her features had softened, her movements slowed, and the transformation was impossible to ignore. Then there's Val Kilmer. The man was Iceman. He was Jim Morrison. In Top Gun and The Doors, he didn't just play cool, he was cool. But by the 2000s, something was off. His weight fluctuated dramatically, fueling endless tabloid speculation. Whispers of health issues spread, but Kilmer denied it all. Then, in 2015, the truth came out. He had been battling throat cancer. The treatment was grueling. Surgeries and radiation took their toll, leaving him frail, his once powerful voice forever altered. By the time he re-emerged, fans barely recognized him. The transformation was shocking. The man who once exuded effortless charisma had been changed in ways no one could have predicted. Decades of non-stop touring, drug-fueled nights, and reckless living left some of rock's biggest icons nearly unrecognizable. Axl Rose was the 80s. The Guns N' Roses frontman had the cheekbones, the swagger, and the raw stage presence that made him larger than life. Then came the 2000s. Fans barely recognized him. His face looked dramatically different, sparking endless rumors. Plastic surgery, weight fluctuations, the toll of a hard-partying past. His once slender frame expanded, and speculation about failed cosmetic work only added fuel to the fire. The welcome to the jungle rock god was gone, replaced by a version even die-hard fans struggled to accept. Steven Tyler, on the other hand, never hid his rock star vices. Heroin, cocaine, and decades of excess ran through his veins as much as his music did. While he still oozes rock star charm, the years have left their mark. His once smooth skin is now deeply lined, his features worn from a lifetime of indulgence. He still struts like the 20-something kid who sang Dream On, but his face tells a different story, one of survival and consequence. If anyone should be a medical anomaly, it's Ozzy Osbourne. By his own admission, he's done enough drugs and alcohol to take down an army. His body has survived everything: decades of substance abuse, a near-fatal ATV accident in 2003, and ongoing health battles. By the 2010s, The years caught up. Deep lines, sunken eyes, and permanent slurred speech became his new reality. The Prince of Darkness still endures, but the toll is impossible to ignore. The 90s was the era of blockbuster cinema, TV heartthrobs, and larger-than-life icons. Some reinvented themselves. Others weren't as lucky. Whether through personal struggles, career missteps, or simply time itself, some stars faded in ways no one expected. Brendan Fraser was one of the Hollywood stars of the 90s. The Mummy, George of the Jungle, Encino Man. His mix of comedic charm and leading man appeal made him box office gold. But behind the scenes, his body was breaking down. Years of high-impact stunts left him with serious injuries, requiring multiple surgeries on his back, knees, and vocal cords. His career slowed. A painful divorce and financial struggles made things worse. By the 2010s, his once athletic frame had changed, and he looked drastically different from the star audiences remembered. It wasn't until The Whale that Fraser made his big comeback, but his transformation over the years remained undeniable. Time away from Hollywood can be just as startling as the years spent in it. No one knows that better than Macaulay Culkin. The Home Alone star was the ultimate 90s child actor, but like many before him, growing up in the industry took a toll. By his 20s, he walked away from Hollywood. When he reappeared, fans were shocked. He looked frail, gaunt, and much older than his years. Tabloids speculated about substance abuse, though he denied it. His disheveled appearance had people concerned, but in recent years he's turned things around. His 40s look healthier than his early 30s ever did. Some transformations feel even more dramatic when they happen to figures once seen as invincible. Just look at Mike Tyson. In his prime, he was an unstoppable force, a heavyweight champion who struck fear into opponents with sheer power and intimidation. But the years weren't kind. Brutal fights, legal troubles, and financial missteps wore him down. By the 2000s, deep lines, weight gain, and a tired look made him seem far older than his age. For professional athletes, time isn't a luxury. It's an opponent they can never truly defeat. The relentless physical toll, the pressures of fame, and the lifestyle that comes with it often accelerate aging. Some retire gracefully, others go through transformations so shocking, even their biggest fans barely recognize them. Wayne Rooney is a prime example of a superstar who aged well beyond his years. He burst onto the scene as a teenager, England's golden boy, and a powerhouse forward with a relentless playing style. But by his late 20s, his body seemed to betray him. The years of carrying Manchester United and the England national team took a visible toll. His hair loss became a major talking point, leading to multiple transplants. While many footballers stay youthful into their 30s, Rooney's rugged, battle-worn look made him seem far older than his actual age. Basketball isn't any easier on the body. Shawn Kemp was a force in the NBA, a 6-time All-Star with explosive dunks and freakish athleticism. In the 90s, his lean, chiseled frame made him unstoppable with the Seattle Supersonics. But after retirement, things changed fast. Kemp's weight skyrocketed to over 300 pounds, a stark contrast to his high-flying prime. While plenty of athletes struggle to stay in peak shape post-career, his transformation was particularly shocking for fans who remembered him at his best. Then there's Diego Maradona, a legend who burned bright but paid the ultimate price for excess. The Argentine icon was worshipped for his dazzling footwork and the infamous Hand of God goal. On the pitch, he was untouchable. Off it, chaos, post-retirement, drug addiction, weight gain, and severe health issues took over. By the time of his passing in 2020, he was nearly unrecognizable from his World Cup glory days. Hospitalizations, scandals, and struggles with addiction painted a tragic picture of what happens when the body and mind can't keep up with the legend. Hollywood demands perfection, but aging is inevitable. Some embrace it, others fight it. And when plastic surgery goes wrong, the results are irreversible and often shocking. Mickey Rourke was once one of the most ruggedly handsome actors of his generation, a heartthrob in films like 9½ Weeks and Angel Heart. But after stepping away from acting to pursue professional boxing, his face took a beating, literally. Multiple injuries led him to undergo reconstructive surgeries, but the results were far from what he expected. His once chiseled jawline became distorted, and his features appeared unnatural. Over the years, he admitted to making mistakes with surgery, saying, "Most of it was to mend the mess of my boxing injuries, but I went to the wrong guy to fix my face." Fans were stunned by his drastic transformation, with some barely recognizing him when he returned to Hollywood in the 2000s. If there's one name that comes up in almost every discussion about botched plastic surgery, it's Donatella Versace. The iconic designer is known for her luxury fashion empire, but her face has been a major topic of speculation for decades. While she has never fully confirmed what procedures she's had, experts suggest excessive fillers, facelifts, and lip augmentation contributed to her dramatically altered appearance. By the early 2000s, her once striking features looked stretched and unnatural. Instead of looking younger, her cosmetic enhancements became more infamous than her fashion work. But she's far from the only celebrity whose transformation sparked endless speculation. Just look at Meg Ryan, who defined the rom-com era of the 90s. With her effortless charm and natural beauty, she was a household name. But when she reappeared in the 2000s, the focus shifted away from her career and onto her face. Speculation about lip fillers, Botox, and facelifts overshadowed her acting talent. Fans who had adored her in When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle were shocked at how different she looked. While she's never confirmed details about the procedures, her transformation became one of the most widely discussed in Hollywood history. With constant public scrutiny and high-pressure lifestyles, many turned to drastic measures to keep up appearances. But time, bad decisions, and questionable procedures often had the opposite effect. Sharon Osbourne has never been shy about her plastic surgery. Over the years, she's been open about facelifts, Botox, and other cosmetic enhancements. But even she admitted when things went too far. After a facelift in 2021, she looked at herself and thought, "I looked like one of those fucking mummies." The work left her face distorted, and she eventually had some of it corrected. The relentless pursuit of perfection has led many down a path of drastic change, and Janice Dickinson was no exception. She made a name for herself as the world's first supermodel, but in later years her appearance became more about plastic surgery than high fashion. At her peak, she was one of the most striking women in the industry, but the chase for eternal youth led to years of extreme procedures, facelifts, Botox, fillers, and more. By the time she was judging America's Next Top Model, her exaggerated look had become a talking point. In recent years, she's been more accepting of aging, but there was a period when her obsession with surgery overshadowed her legacy. Not all dramatic transformations stem from Hollywood's beauty standards. Sometimes they happen in the most unexpected corners of entertainment. Scott Thompson, better known as Carrot Top, was once a quirky, red-headed comedian with a signature wild-haired look. But when he transitioned to a long-term Las Vegas residency, something changed. Fans started noticing his face looked completely different. Rumors swirled about Botox, fillers, and even plastic surgery, though he's denied most of it. The combination of aging, dramatic muscle gain, and possible cosmetic work made him almost unrecognizable. Whether intentional or not, Carrot Top's transformation became one of the most shocking among entertainers. Money, power, and influence can buy a lot, but they can't stop time or erase the effects of self-destruction. And few stars embodied that downfall quite like Charlie Sheen, who wasn't just a TV star. He was a phenomenon. In the 2000s, he became the highest-paid actor on television, pulling in nearly $1.8 million per episode for 2.5 Men. But behind the scenes, things were unraveling fast. His well-documented battles with substance abuse, public feuds, and a chaotic personal life took a serious toll. By his infamous 2011 meltdown, where he coined the phrase winning while clearly doing the opposite, his appearance had changed drastically. The once sharp features and youthful energy were gone, replaced by a visibly aged, gaunt look. Years of hard living had caught up, and even after stepping out of the spotlight, the damage was done. Self-destruction in Hollywood doesn't discriminate by age, and few stars proved that more than Lindsay Lohan, who was once the industry's undeniable it girl. The success of The Parent Trap, Mean Girls, and Freaky Friday made her one of the most in-demand young actresses of the 2000s. But by the time she hit her early 20s, she was more famous for DUIs and court appearances than films. Endless nights of partying, mugshots, and multiple stints in rehab visibly aged her beyond her years. By the time she attempted a career comeback in her late 20s, she looked significantly older than her peers. While she has since cleaned up her image, the toll of those reckless years remains visible. Few actors held on to their mystique as well as Johnny Depp, until they didn't. For years, he was the face of quirky, rebellious Hollywood cool, whether in Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, or Sweeney Todd. But by the late 2000s and 10s, the combination of financial troubles, personal lawsuits, and years of reported excessive drinking started to show. Once known for his sculpted cheekbones and sharp style, he now appears bloated and weary, looking much older than his 60 years. The legal battles against his ex-wife and the public scrutiny surrounding his personal life only added to the visible stress. Fame can preserve a star's image in history, but real life always catches up. For these celebrities, the harsh truth is that no amount of fortune or influence can undo time's relentless march.